Video games have evolved exponentially in the past 50 years. You may be used to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox One now, but only 15 years ago the Nintendo Wii was released, a console that took the gaming market by storm. 5 years before that was the GameCube. 5 years before that the Nintendo 64, the Super Nintendo, the NES, the Atari, the Odyssey, and before that, too far. The 80s was a crazy time for many industries, such as movies, music, technology. But there's one industry that grew more rapidly than all of those combined. Arcades were in a boom of popularity in the early 80s. It was the new social nexus. Kids would spend every penny on games like Donkey Kong, Galaga, Pac-Man, Space Invaders. However, in an unnamed arcade in Portland, Oregon, it was rumoured that something more ominous and obscure lurked. A limited release game that's fast-paced, weird, puzzle element gameplay caused sickness, headaches, seizures, night terrors, suicidal thoughts and even sudden death. A possible government experiment run by the Men in Black or CIA, a game called Polybius. The most consistent evidence for Polybius' existence through all claims are the same. The name, the year, and the company. One screenshot that is as old as the myth itself. It is rather basic. A black background with a Polybius logo. The company name, year of release, and the credits. Nothing else. But a lot can be taken from it. Compared to other 1981 cabinet release games, this logo is unusually large and detailed. Back then, graphics were confined to the printed marquees. Every kilobyte of ROM was valuable. But what about Cinesolution? No companies by this name have been proven to have existed. But what does Cinesolution mean? It comes from German origin, Sinus meaning sense, and loken meaning to lose. It doesn't quite make grammatical sense, however, roughly translates to lose senses. Other screenshots also exist, with this one linking back to an article from 2004 from a site called Cinesolution.com. This website actually has a downloadable link to a Polybius ROM. How about physical evidence?
During my search, I found that there are two convincing pieces of physical evidence for Polybius. Images of circuit boards have been shared, such as this one. If it were real, this would be very valuable. However, it is sadly just a bootleg Miss Pac-Man with some minor photoshopping. Secondly, there's a picture of the supposed cabinet of Polybius. It comes from a trusted website, Arcade Museum. The image shows a Namco-style cabinet, which dated back to 1979 to 1981. Meaning it could be real or potentially just a Photoshop, or a custom-built game. The controls, a single button and a joystick, are very different to the ones at the time.
Surely a developer of the game, or at least someone that has seen it, has come forward. Well, some have, if you believe them. The most famous of these is Stephen Roach, a man who claims to be a developer of the game. Though there are some who claim his evidence is convincing, they can easily be picked apart, with many flaws, inconsistencies, and language more suiting for a cheap ghost story. It just doesn't add up. For example, Stephen Roach claims he was born in Rhyl, Wales, and moved to Czechoslovakia in 1965 due to his parents' business interests, which is quite interesting considering it was under communist dictatorship at that time. Rather than chasing unverifiable rumours from 40 years ago, how about we locate the origin point of Polybius itself? As a starting point, let's use the main Wikipedia page, created in February of 2005. However, this is not the first time Polybius has been mentioned on Wikipedia. On the 30th of November, the page for the Greek historian Polybius had a page amendment, adding that it was also an urban legend game. On the 29th of February, 2004, we see the first reference of Polybius on Wikipedia. Going back even further through the web, a post by Simon Eicher on the forum /dot asks about the game in August of 2003. In the early 2000s, GamePro was a popular gaming magazine amongst the youth. Issue 180, published September of 2003, in an article called Secrets and Lies, contains 6 mysteries about video games. It concludes if they are true, false, or inconclusive. Number 6 was Polybius, with the conclusion of inconclusive due to lack of evidence. However, this still is not the earliest mention on the web. In February of 2003, GamePro.com uploaded an article about Polybius, with a thank you at the bottom to coinup.org. Coinup.org was a website for video game enthusiasts and collectors. It features a blog as well as a giant game list. The site contains a blog about Polybius. It also holds the date that it was allegedly posted, the earliest one yet, 3rd of August 1998. But is it verifiable? The site has had several different URLs during its lifespan, making it hard to track using the Wayback Machine. However, with enough digging, we can get as far back as February 6th, 2000, not 1998. Even digging through Usenet archives, all I found relating to Polybius was a few mentions on a forum, all a few weeks after the coinup.org article was posted. This means we can only assume that coinup.org is where the story began. Therefore, Kurt Koller, the site's owner since 1998, would have complete control over the site, including the Polybius page. Perhaps he was tipped off by someone, or perhaps he created the whole mystery himself.
Kurt was the person who first tipped me off about Polybius. I've thought about it for a long time, and ultimately I came to the conclusion some years ago that Kurt was probably just making all of this up and pulling the wool over my eyes, and he sent it in as a tip to see if I would bite, and obviously I bit.
Kurt Koller was behind coinup.org, and is therefore responsible for the first posting of Polybius on the web. As an arcade enthusiast, Kurt would be familiar with games from the Polybius era, even being a collector himself. As a web developer, he would have the access to the necessary skills in order to create a convincing looking screenshot. He also had some familiarity with the German language, hence the grammatical mistake in Sinneslotion. Finally, he had a motive: to generate traffic towards his newly bought site, coinup.org, even tipping off a popular gaming magazine to embed the myth into history.